Hello, the 7th of July 2018, I have written up and published some of my formulas. As you can see, they have been trying to deprive me of my femininity, so I'm aware of what's going on in the world. If that has happened once, it can happen again, and if they have done it like that, then obviously this is the frame of mind. So they are obviously enemies to humankind. And what can I say? I don't have solutions for such a situation, as I have been repeating for a long time. Under the circumstances, it probably takes extraterrestrial intervention to save my life, and the extraterrestrials are certainly not the ones that are behind Assangists, because Assangists are chauvinistic, that's obvious, so they are enemies to humankind too. But perhaps by some miracle someone will wake up at one point and the miracle will happen. I can only count on miracles. So while I do, let me continue with my study. Publisher's introduction. From Funk and Wagnall's New Standard Dictionary, Supplement Number 5, Dianetics Noun. A system for the analysis, control, and development of human thought, evolved from a set of coordinated axioms, which also provide techniques for the treatment of a wide range of mental disorders and organic diseases. Term and doctrines introduced by L. Ron Hubbard, American engineer. Greek, Dianetikos, noetikos, dia through plus NOOS, mind. Adjective, dianetic. Probably I should speak louder because it does not record correctly when I speak normally. So, a system for analysis, so taking it into parts and looking and studying each control and development. Of human, actually thought, of human thought, developed from a set of principles, a set of coordinated axioms. So these are axioms, and you do not question them. So this is questioning, this is no questioning of them. These are stable. These axioms provide techniques for a treatment of a wide range of mental disorders or mind disorder treatment or organic diseases or body disorder to the body, like a disease, and treatment. Dianetics is the science of survival, Although it is much simpler than the physical sciences of physics and chemistry, it compares with them in the preciseness of its results. The source of psychosomatic illness and human aberration has been discovered, and in Dianetics skills exist for the first time with which to resolve them. So psychosomatic illness, this is the body, and this is the mind, then the psychosom, and this is the mind, and this is an illness, then this illness comes from the mind. And human aberration. So if this is a human being and this is a norm, aberration is a departure from that norm. An understanding of human behavior is made possible by Dianetics. The precision of science is brought by Dianetics into the broad fields of the humanities. It is actually a family of sciences and enlarges the humanities beyond previous understanding. The present volume deals with human evaluation and with Dianetic processing. With it, the behavior of human beings can be estimated and predicted with exactness. So what this book does is that this is a human being and there is some behavior. This behavior can be estimated. So you have some reference points, and by referring that behavior to this reference point, you can estimate this behavior as this or this or that, and it can also be predicted. So before this behavior takes place, before this behavior of that person takes place, you can actually predict that this behavior will take place. And this is exact. Exact means that if this is the behavior and this is another behavior, what you predict is this and not that. Although Dianetics is a broad subject and should never be limited to the field of mental healing, any true science which embraced men's activities could not Dianetic process. So this is the person, and this is another person, and this person has certain procedures which are steps of a process, which are steps of a process in the sequence, and this person has this mind, so you can apply this process to communicate to the person, and the person through the communication heals the mind. Although Dianetics is a broad subject and should never be limited to the field of mental healing, Any true science which embraced man's activities could not but touch upon and resolve neurosis, criminality, insanity, and psychosomatic illness. So, criminality. If this is a person, and this person belongs to a certain culture that has a certain code of behavior in which certain things are considered criminal, this culture being the culture of a certain society which is agreed upon. So this person actually carries this agreement due to belonging to this society. A criminal action would be the action that involves any of these acts which have been defined as criminal, that is breaking the law. And they are criminal because they involve a harm to another, which is of a serious nature. Application of the human evaluation chart contained in this volume permits the student to estimate with some exactness the behavior and reactions that can expect. Application of the human evaluation chart. Chart is an ordered list of specific items concerning a certain subject or area, and usually has the order to it, that is some numbers. Application of the human evaluation chart contained in this volume permits the student to estimate with some exactness the behavior and reactions he can expect from the human beings around him, and what can happen to him as a result of association with various persons. So, if this person associates with this person, and there is this chart, and this person can be estimated to belong to this particular set of characteristics which include that kind of behavior, that person can expect that this will happen to that person. Additionally, the use of human evaluation permits the individual to handle and better life with other human beings. Man has known many portions of Dianetics. Okay, so also, so if this person knows this chart and the characteristics, this can improve this person's relations. Relations with another being, because, for example, this person knows this. Let's say this person belongs here. So this person knows this about this person, and so the person chooses to behave this way rather than if this is the characteristic of another set of another type rather than this way. So this could cause a conflict and this causes well-being. Man has known many portions of Dianetics in the past thousands of years, but not until now has this data been organized into a body of precision knowledge. Dianetics is a master science, embraces psychology, psychometry, psychiatry, psychoanalysis, and any other field of mental healing of evaluation, but goes on more importantly to predict human behavior precisely and to delineate the causes of that behavior, to enhance the field of politics and to enlarge all other activities of man. So psychometry. Psychometry is the measurement of the mind, but let me check. Is a measurement of the mind. Psychometrics, the science of measuring mental abilities and processes. So the mind has certain abilities and there are certain processes going on in the mind. So psychometry would measure, for example, this ability or that ability, and this process. So there are some qualifications of this process. And psychometry would measure if this is this or this or that. But goes on more importantly to predict human behavior precisely and to delineate the causes of that behavior. To put in a line, to define. More or less describe or indicate something precisely. Okay, so delineate would be a description, so this is a description, so you write, so you can say or write about this, this and this and this, and this is precise. So this is what delineates means. To indicate means this is a set of some items, and to indicate would mean to decide this is this, or this is this, or this is this. So to delineate would mean to describe or indicate precisely. She delineated her expectations. Let me check the pronunciation. Oh, here is to show by drawing or describing, delineate. A different definition. So let's have both of them. Delineate. Delineate. So she delineated her expectations. I have delineated all departures from the norm. She has delineated the correlations between financial markets and the weather. They have delineated the causes of the problem. We must delineate all the steps we want to take to solve the problem. They have delineated all the errors that they have made. Mary and John delineated the rules of their marriage. She has delineated all her enemies. Mary and John have delineated all the areas of danger. They have delineated all the subjects that need to be covered in the essay, in the paper. Okay, let's check the other definition. It's different. Delineate, to show by drawing or describing. So delineate would mean draw something or to describe something to show it to someone else. She has delineated her idea of She has delineated her vision of the garden. They have delineated all steps of the process. Mary has delineated her plans. They have delineated the new model of the car. John has delineated the design of his flat. They have delineated all the possible ways out of the labyrinth. The armed forces delineated the plans for the attack. Latin delineare. Dianetics as a master science embraces psychology, psychometry, psychiatry, psychoanalysis, and any other field of mental healing or evaluation, but goes on more importantly to predict human behavior precisely and to delineate the causes of that behavior. So this does not only predict this behavior, but also there are certain causes to this behavior, and it indicates these causes and describes or describes. To enhance the field of politics, to make it bigger, or stronger, to increase the quality, enhance, to improve, to increase the quality, value, or extent of. So enhance would be to increase the, so if this has this quality, so enhancing would be adding to this quality. Or if this has this value, to enhance would be to add to this value. Or if it has this range, to enhance would be to move it. If this has this range, to enhance would be to move it to have this range. So to enhance means to increase the quality, the value, or the extent. She has enhanced her ability of speaking English. Mary has enhanced her writing skills by writing an essay every day. John has enhanced his vocabulary by reading books in English and checking the words he did not know. Joe has enhanced their income by 70%. Mary has enhanced enhanced her aptitude for maths by defining the simple terms. John and Mary have enhanced their happiness by moving out of the city. They have enhanced the human rights standards by handling criminality. They have failed to enhance the activity of the company, so they got fired. So they are to be fired. John and Mary have enhanced their chances of survival through getting criminal. Old French in Hans Barsa. To enhance the field of politics and to enlarge all other activities of man. Despite this scope, Dianetics is simple enough to be easily understood by the intelligent layman. And after a study of this volume, many, despite the scope, no matter the scope, however large is the scope, Dianetics is simple enough to be easily understood by the intelligent layman, not a professional. And after a study of this volume, many of its lesser techniques can be employed. Lesser, that is not the big ones, but simple techniques can be employed by the layman to better and increase the life potential of individuals with whom he associates. The first law of Dianetics is the dynamic principle of existence. The dynamic principle of existence is survive or succumb. No activity succumb, that is to die. To all appearances, I have failed to survive, which is why I have been chosen for the succumb category. Succumb, okay. Succumb. Die from the effect of a disease or injury. So if this is a person and this person receives an injury, this injury can be so bad that the person, this is a life and the person dies. So the life is out. All of us were hoping that we can help her, but all of us hoped we could help her, but she succumbed. We were fighting against the danger of her succumbing, hanging in the air. Nobody wants to succumb, or perhaps some do, as they prefer it to a life in invalidity. People are trying to do their best not to receive injuries or suffer from diseases and to succumb. Actually, I did not put the. Okay, so if this is the person and this person receives an injury or suffers from a disease, and this is the life of the person, so succumb would mean that this life is out. Do your best not to succumb, stick to life. Actually, I was pretty sure I would succumb within the next few days, since actually in March 2016. In March and the following 9 months of 2016. Okay. Give in to pressure, temptation. Okay, so succumb also has this other definition, which is quite important, I guess, if we talk about the spirit. So there is a temptation, and if the person succumbs, the person gives in to that temptation. Another thing is that there's some pressure exerted on the person. So if the person succumbs, the person gives into the pressure and starts, for example, doing this, or changes his opinion, or if the person has some friends, the person may betray the friends. So, or the person can, if this person is on that side, the person can, so if the person is on that side, when the person succumbs, the person can go to that side. He was fighting for years, but finally the pressure made him succumb. Scary as it all seems to me, I have not succumbed yet. The left wing believe that all people succumb. It depends on sooner or later succumb. So some of them decide to give up or give in earlier to reduce the possible losses. The right-wing people normally take the choice of winning or succumbing in the attempt. It is no shame if one succumbs under heavy pressure. I mean, it is sad, but it is not such a disgrace. With the amount of pressure she was experiencing, with the amount of pressure exerted on her, she had no choice but to succumb. The man was very attractive, so she succumbed. To become that marvelously rich made her change her attitudes in which she succumbed. The prospect of becoming that marvelously rich made her change her attitudes in which she succumbed. When she realized how powerful she might get, she betrayed her friends and succumbed deciding to join the enemies of her friends. Latin, secumbere. The dynamic principle of existence is survive. Let's check if we find something new about survive. Survive is basically to be able to live regardless, and I know that in Scientology it is used not only as living but actually getting better. Continue to live or exist, continue to live in spite of an accident or ordeal, remain alive after the death. He was survived by his wife. Okay, nothing new here. So, the first law of Dianetics is the dynamic principle. Dynamic, involving some movement, involving changes of energy. But let us check it. Dynamic. Okay, perhaps it would be good to demo it out for a start, or at least demo it out, and then we'll see. Okay, so dynamic of a process, constant. So if this is a process, and so these are changes, and dynamic would mean that these changes constant. This is constant. Okay, constant. So this means that it always happens. So these changes take place all the time in this process. So this is the first definition. Constantly changing or active. So this does not stop at any point. So this is dynamic, the first definition. Well, the torture exerted on me, I want to leave it for the, so perhaps I put dynamic here. I take photos of some of the demos after, when I watch the video afterwards, to see how I was doing and whether I can learn something about myself or not, and to see what it all looks like. And sometimes certain things manifest during the process too, which get captured in the picture. So dynamic. So the first definition of dynamic would concern a process, and that would mean that the changes are taking place all the time. And that this is active. Okay. So active would actually mean that there are changes taking place. That this is active would mean that this is happening, as different from inactive. Active would mean that these changes are happening, as different from inactive, that is not happening. The torture exerted on me is pretty dynamic. The process of study is quite dynamic. Life, as it's lived, is dynamic. Life as a process is dynamic. The investigation was quite dynamic. The whole universe is quite dynamic. There are changes taking place even where we have an impression we are dealing with something totally stable, like rocks. Okay, so this would be the first definition of the dynamic. The second definition of the word dynamic would be full of energy and new ideas. So this is the person. This person has a lot of ideas and a lot of energy. As a teacher, I was quite dynamic. Actually, I felt dynamic when I had a good contact with my pupils. My English lessons were quite dynamic because I had to move from one desk to another. The development of acne polytania in September 2017 was quite dynamic. It's pretty difficult to be dynamic when one is under constant torture. The dance was quite dynamic. The new government proved not that dynamic at all. The new management was very dynamic. They have changed all the practices and created a completely new culture. She was a dynamic little girl. The psychiatrists tend to label dynamic children as ill. And then we have the physics definition relating to forces producing motion. So, if what's that? Is that needed here? Oh yes, no, it's a process, constant. Okay, it's needed here. So it has to do with, in physics, it has to do with forces. With forces producing motion. So, if this is a particle, this does not move. And then the particle moves. So there is a force that makes this particle move. and this force is dynamic. So what is a force? Something that has an impact something that has an impact. What impact? An impact? If the drop, if there is water dropping from the ceiling on the rock, and this is changing the rock, so it has an impact on the rock and it produces changes. So is the drop a force? Well, the gravity is the force. Then I guess, I don't know physics, but I guess there is the acceleration of the drop falling, which makes the drop hit the rock with a certain potential. But what is exactly the force? I have known it, but I have forgotten. Force, physics. A measurable influence that causes something to move. Okay. So, the force can be measured. So this is measurement. So this is a measurable influence. So this is an influence. So this is a particle, and this influence makes the particle move, and this influence can be measured. So this influence is called a force, because this is a measurable influence that causes movement. That causes something that is this to move. So an influence, the influence can be measured, so it can be that big, or that big, or that big. Measurable influence that makes something, for example a particle, move. So this is a force. Now, this kind of force that makes, but any force causes movement. Well, not all, not all forces cause movement, because I can see that there's the lamp hanging at the ceiling, and it does not go down even though there is gravity influencing it. So dynamic forces would be the forces that cause movement. Good. All. Sentence. the situation of the ship became quite dynamic when there came a storm and started moving it. Then there were huge waves, and that's enough. Suddenly then the sky opened and a huge UFO started to suck the ship in. To make things worse, the ship was connected, the UFO entered the corridor that had a connection with a black hole. Okay. Halo? No. Ale wymarzone jest straszne, no. A jak? Aha, a no to jest dobrze. Aha, ale to nie dzień. No bo ja jeszcze widzę teraz wyjeżdżać się chyba. No wiesz, nie będę terroryzowana. No nie no, to jest no. Dobra, no to zobaczę, no to kurwa. Okay, so I'll be finishing for today. So the first law of Dianetics is the dynamic principle of existence. So the dynamic that is involving energy, involving activity, involving changes, involving ideas, involving movement. So actually there's life to it. The first law of Dianetics is the dynamic principle of existence. The dynamic principle of existence, principle rule. So how it works? It is survive or succumb. No activity of living organisms has been found to exist without this principle. It is not meant here that survival should be in terms of barest necessity, since one of the best guarantees of survival is abundance. So this is what I meant, that if this person is surviving, it is not that the person has only this, which is necessary, but the person has this and this and this and this and this and that and that and that and that and that and that. And obviously this is something valuable and worthwhile. This is what the person wants to have. This is something valuable and worthwhile. This is what the person and worthwhile. Valuable and worthwhile. This is what the person wants to have. This is something valuable and worthwhile. What the person wants to have. This is something valuable and worthwhile. What the person wants to have. This is something valuable and worthwhile. What the person wants to have. And the same concerns the rest, but I have run out. Well, actually I can add this. So this is also something valuable and worthwhile. What the person wants to have. And this is survivable. While this is the barest necessity, the person must have it and the person has it, but this does not mean that the person is surviving it. The person, although the person is surviving in the sense of, in the literary meaning, but in Scientology terms you need to have this to feel you are surviving, and this is just barest necessity. Barest meaning the simplest, the most necessary, the barest necessity. Okay, so that would be it. Definitely when I do a lot of demos I feel much better. It is much better than word hearing, just with, aha, I have not checked the derivation of dynamic. Okay. Dynamic. Greek dunamikos. They don't explain here actually what the dunamikos means. Here we have from Greek dynamis, power. So that would be it for now, for today. Tomorrow we will be reading about dynamics, unless my word clearing and demos will lead me to reading just one paragraph, but perhaps I can read more. I'm very sorry for my smile, but they have done their best to make me look as ugly as possible, so my natural charm is gone, sadly enough. Still, my spirit isn't. My spirit, what comes out from me, the spirit. So thank you, that's all for today.